Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective. I got my Storm Christmas sweater on. I'm ready to go. Today we are going to be talking about the flop seasons of Drag Race. And I don't just mean ones that people didn't live for or that people didn't, it's fine. We're talking about the seasons that absolutely flopped. People did not like them at all across the board. And to this day, people still rag on these seasons. So we have about 10 seasons to talk about today, which, in the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of Drag Race. There could be more, but there's still kind of a lot, and especially in the last couple of years, there's been a lot. So we're going to talk about all of them, what made them not work, and why people hated them so much. Let me know in the comments what you think will be one of the seasons, and we'll see if you're right. Now, the first season that I think truly flopped was the very first All-Stars. It was actually so bad that All-Stars was put on hold for 4 more years. So, All-Stars 1. What went wrong? Definitely not the cast. The cast was incredible. The cast was giving. It was wonderful. It was the team format for sure. I mean, especially because no one who went there expected to be in teams. I think it would have been much different if they came as a duo. That would be a really fun season. But no one wanted to do the teams. Everyone was annoyed the whole time, and you can tell. And I just don't think that Drag Race at that point in time was made for this duo format. I just don't think it worked. I think that they would need to kind of change a little bit more of the format for it to fit in with a team twist. They tried to do you can tag in for the lip sync, which people only did one time, so it kind of didn't really work super well. I just don't think they fully thought through all of the necessary changes that would need to be made, and that people might not want to watch a 6-episode season where 2 of their favorites are going home every single week. I just don't think that the format worked. People did not like it. The queens didn't like it, and it was just too short. So All-Stars ended up going on hiatus for 4 more years. It came back, obviously, with a vengeance, because All-Stars 2 was one of the most beloved seasons of all time, but All-Stars 1 was definitely a flop. Next, we have a season that was definitely hated at the time, and I think people like maybe a little bit more now, but I still don't think it's very well liked because of some glaring issues, and it is Season 7, especially after Seasons 4, 5, and 6, which were all beloved by the fandom. Season 7 just did not work. Mostly because I think they went in wanting to crown a fashion queen. Season 5, the winner was Jinx. She's a comedy queen, not really known for her fashion. Bianca then won. She's also a comedy queen, not also really known for her fashion. And I think they wanted to shake up who they were crowning in the winner's circle. There hadn't been a fashion queen who won since Raja on Season 3. But the problem is, they have so many comedy challenges. It's almost like casting was we want to, crown a fashion girl. Let's cast a bunch of fashion queens who aren't good at comedy. But then the producers that were coming up with the challenges were ooh, we love the comedy. Let's do comedy. And then the editors were we don't really know what to do with this because everyone's flopping these comedy challenges. And it's also because they sent home all the comedy queens super early. Tempest du Jour goes home first, then they lose Trixie, then they lose Kasha, and they're losing Kasha and Trixie to save these fashion queens like Pearl, like Fame, like Candy. But then all these comedy challenges that follow are not that good because they send home all their comedy queens. Genuinely, I think Pearl going home over Trixie and I think Kasha staying over Candy would have made the latter half of Season 7 just so much better. And that's no shade to Candy or to Pearl. It's just we needed some comedy people in there to do something. I think the season is more liked now just because of how many legends are on it. Katya, Trixie, Kennedy, Violet, Pearl. There's so many incredible queens on this season, but I don't think that they're able to really make up for how bad some of the production decisions were. I mean, even sending home Max when they could have easily just sent home Fame. There's just every time that there's an interesting queen who they could absolutely have slay more challenges in the future, they get rid of them and then have queens like Pearl and Fame there who just flop basically every single comedy challenge, and it gets just a little bit hard to watch as the season continues on. So Season 7, I think, is maybe a little bit more liked than other seasons on this cast, but I think it was the first flop season of the main show that people did not live for. And then I actually think that there's a long stretch of seasons that people at least liked overall. I would say the next flop season is season 13. This is the COVID season. They filmed this during COVID. You could definitely tell the difference in, like, not even just quality, but, like, you know, there's, like, glass panels between all the judges, and there's no audience for any of the roast challenges or things like that. Like, you can just tell they had to cut some corners in order to make it a safe environment, which I'm glad that they did, but you definitely feel it a little bit as the viewer. And I also just think they were so heavy-handed in their producing of this season, from the pork chop lounge in the premiere, which was universally panned by basically everybody, to, you know, sending home queens like Tamisha, because they needed to save queens like Gottmik. Like, there's just so many, giving Gottmik the ball win. There were so many decisions that were made on the season that the fans just did not live for. Losing Denali the way that they did. Gaslighting Tina Burner a couple times. Like, there's just so much, like, production bullshit going on that people did not live for, and it all kind of culminates in this, like, drive-in finale where we're doing the lip sync for the crown again, and it is the worst iteration of lip sync for the crown. It should have been amazing because they're using Britney Spears songs. You know, we got Gimme More, we got Till the World Ends, we got Work Bitch. Like, it's Britney. And you would think these divas are lip syncing to, like, I don't know, Ashley Simpson or something, because the lip syncs are so bad across the board. I would say that Simone and Gottmik doing Gimme More is probably the best, but even then, it's like a good lip sync, but that's not a finale lip sync. So the premiere was poorly received, the finale was poorly received, a lot of the stuff in the middle was poorly received, and it sucks because there was such a good cast, but there was just so many forced storylines, and they dropped other storylines that could have actually went somewhere. Like, they tried to focus so hard on Rosé and Denali and, like, their ship, when they had a built-in storyline with Olivia Lux and Rosé that they just forgot about after the premiere. So it's just not a well-produced season. I don't think that the queens were giving the caliber at times, like in lip syncs, where we were expecting, and it definitely was, I think at this point, the most hated regular season of Drag Race. And to this day, I think it still might be. Now let's talk about two international seasons that popped up around this time that also were kind of hated, starting off with Drag Race Down Under. So we've had a couple international seasons at this point. You know, we have Drag Race UK, we have Drag Race Thailand, and RuPaul decides to sign on for a third international franchise, Drag Race Down Under, that includes both queens from Australia and New Zealand. And you can just tell they're tired. Like, RuPaul is tired. RuPaul doesn't give a shit. It's just, the magic is not there on this season. Also, the biggest glaring issue is in casting. There were two kind of controversial figures on this season. Scarlett, I was gonna say Envy. What is her name? I haven't even thought about this bitch in so long. Scarlett something. Scarlett Bobo? No. Scarlett Envy? No. I genuinely have not thought about this queen in so long that I can't even think of her name. Whatever her name is, we all know who I'm talking about. She had done blackface and some racist performances, I think pretty recently too, when they were filming, and they kind of, like, made a storyline out of it where, like, they were trying to hold her accountable, but then, like, she apologized and RuPaul was, like, accepting the apology for every person of color watching at home. It was just really, really poorly done. And then the one queen who was still like, you shouldn't be here, like, that's fucked up, etc., etc., they sent her home immediately after that. There's also Karen from Finance, who has some, like, racially not okay dolls that she collected and, like, tattooed on her body, and both of them make finale. Then there's the whole Art Simone debacle, where, like, if you knew one drag queen from Australia, it was Art Simone, and she goes home second, and then they just, like, bring her back for, like, no reason. It's just, like, you can tell they were really pushing these queens, Scarlett and Karen and Art, and they all make the finale, and then they can't crown any of them. and they have to crown Kitamine. And I love Kitamine, love her, but it feels like there were so many other queens who were incredible who should have been in that finale and would have given them so many more options, like Anita Wigglet, like Electra Shock. Both who were, I think, unfairly eliminated. They really just backed themselves into a corner on the season. It was so rigged. There was no spark. All the queens that people really lived for, production didn't, and the queens that people didn't live for, production did. So there was just a lot of misalignment going on with what the production was thinking and wanting, and what the audience was thinking and wanting. And I think to this day, it's probably in the top, 3 most hated seasons of all time. And I think correctly so. It was so hard to watch at the time. And don't even ask me to watch it now. Scarlet Harlot? No. Whatever. We also have another first season of an international franchise with Canada's Drag Race Season 1, which had everything in it to be a 10 out of 10 slam dunk season. And again, production just kind of stepped in and did what they did and just kind of botched all the potential that was there, because the cast of Canada Season 1 was absolutely insane. This is an all-star cast for your first season of a franchise. They really hit the lottery with this cast, and then they absolutely squandered all of it. From humiliating queens like Tynomi Banks, and, obviously the Jeffrey Boyer Chapman of it all. We know that he was kind of set up to be the villain, to be the Simon. And I just don't think that works on a drag program. When we're, talking about someone singing, it's just their singing voice. Clearly, they're not going to be a singer anyway. Making fun of them is one thing on an American Idol or X Factor. But on Drag Race, when these are people's careers, and they're all clearly very good at it, to have made it onto Drag Race, I don't think that, snarky, rude, dismissive energy works. And people were not happy. The queens weren't happy. The audience wasn't happy. Poor Jeffrey Joyner Chapman got so much hate for, just following orders, basically doing what the production wanted him to do. So that was very sad to see. But, it was, it's hard to watch at points. The, thing that he did with Jimbo, that scene with Jimbo where he's use your time better, maybe. Oh, it's that mean gay that everybody at the bar hates. And he was playing it as a character, but it was still infuriating. Infuriating. There was so much riggory on this season. It was mean-spirited. There were some great moments, obviously some great lip syncs. The queens were adding plenty of entertainment, but it was just one of those, it was rage baiting. It was a rage bait season, and no one wants to watch that. Almost UK7 is kind of a rage bait season. So those two, I think, definitely were, first tries at a franchise. And while I think that Drag Race Down Under never truly, hit its stride, I think Season 2 was okay. I didn't watch Seasons 3 or 4, and I heard they were fine. Canada at least picked up some steam, and Seasons 2 and 3 and 4 were fantastic. And we're crossing our fingers because Season 6 looks amazing. And if you want to see my thoughts on Season 6, you can join and be a member of this channel, where you'll get members-only videos every single week for Drag Race Canada Season 6. One is coming out tomorrow about the promo. Very excited for that season. And also, while we're talking about it, thank you so much to all of my channel members. I appreciate you all so much. And sorry that UK and Dragula suck, and I stopped watching both. Oops. But getting back to our list. The last 3 All-Star seasons, All-Stars 8, All-Stars 9, and All-Stars 10, did not work for various different reasons, and I would consider all of them flops. All-Stars 8, what a bizarre season. It's following the all-winner season, so it has big shoes to kind of fill. People loved the winter season. Me, not as much, but overall the fandom loved it. And they decide to really lean in on what worked on All-Star 6, because All-Star 6 was a very successful season. And it was filled with a lot of kind of wild cards, maybe queens who didn't do super well on their first season, as well as the lipstick assassin twist, and there was just a lot that made All-Star 6 really, really work. And I think they tried to capture that magic again on All-Stars 8, but oh my goodness, did it not work. Because the lipstick assassin twist was so rigged So many of the people they brought back were not lip sync assassins, and the lip syncs were pretty mid throughout the entire season. There was a very obvious winner from the start. Basically, once everyone saw the cast, they immediately were like, oh, Jimbo's winning, and Jimbo won. So it was kind of underwhelming to watch. The other queen who really could have given Jimbo a run for her money, Heidi N Closet, quit and was one of the multiple queens who quit or wanted to quit. No one wanted to be there. Everyone wanted to quit. It seems like a lot of the people that fans were really excited to see went home super early, like Kasha Davis, like Darian Lake. James Mansfield didn't make it as far as I think people wanted. Obviously Heidi. And a lot of queens who just weren't fan favorites made it really far, which of course just doesn't make fans very happy. So the format didn't work. The riggory was rigging. The queens wanted to quit. It was just bad vibes all around. And I think it's one of the most forgettable seasons of Drag Race. It is so forgettable. All-Stars 9, I think they then tried to like capture the magic of All-Stars 7, the all winners, and have like a non-elimination season. They got a lot of really, really heavy hitters after they were kind of critiqued that half the cast of All-Stars 8 weren't really All-Stars. So they got a really, really great cast that then no one went home. But then the problem is no one really had to fight that hard because they knew they were going to be there the whole time. And because they weren't getting the money themselves. This was a charity season, which on paper, love that. But I just think that in the human condition, there's going to be a little bit less fire when you're not fighting for money that you're going to be getting yourself. Clearly, they all got paid already. You know what I mean? They all got a stipend. They all got paid to be there. And it's like, yes, I'm going to fight to win for my charity, but I think it's different when you're fighting for $200,000 for yourself versus a charity, unfortunately. And I think you can tell there were just so many phoned in performances. No one was afraid of going home. So in challenges that they didn't think they were going to do great at, they just didn't try. They didn't learn lyrics to lip syncs. It was such a boring and kind of a disappointing season because you have these all-stars. These are 8 incredible queens, and I feel like only maybe 4 of them were like firing on all cylinders. I feel like there were maybe more at the start, but as the season went on, queens like Gottmik, queens like Vanjie, just like didn't care as much because I think they knew they weren't winning. And again, there was riggory that was just very annoying. They brought back this 3-star twist at the end, which people hated. So the fact that they brought it back was a little bit crazy. They did this like double diamond twist, which was stupid. There was a whole episode where no one even went home. There wasn't even a challenge. It was just like them hanging out. Like All-Stars 9 is not a good season, unfortunately, but it has a great promo. All-Stars 8 also has a really great promo. All-Stars 10, the season, most recent in the All-Stars world, it had so much potential. But Ginger Minj, and it's not her fault. It is not Ginger Minj's fault. But production threw this entire season off a cliff in order to crown Ginger Minj, a queen that the audience just doesn't really vibe with that hard. She definitely has her fans, but she's never been a fan favorite. I think if you're going to literally run a season off a cliff, it better be for a queen that people love. It better be for someone that everyone can at least say, all right, well, at least I like Jinx Monsoon, all winners, made for Jinx Monsoon. I don't think they drove it off a cliff for Jinx necessarily, maybe a little bit in that finale with Swish Swish, but people love Jinx, so they were able to look past it. People don't love Ginger Minj, and they were not able to look past it, and it is unfortunately a good season if you take out Ginger Minj, and that's really mean to say, and I don't hate Ginger Minj as a person, but it was just infuriating to watch when there were so many queens who were, so much fun to watch, who were doing so much, and then they all just got swept to the side to, crown Ginger Minj. God, I hate that season so much. Oh my god. Okay. Now, let's talk about one of the franchises that is so hit or miss, it's crazy. Drag Race UK. UK 1, absolutely incredible. UK 2, somehow even better. UK 3, oh wow. Wow. So, the big kind of storyline going into UK 3 is that they cast the very first cisgender woman, Victoria Scone, and that was a big deal. And I think that they really did want her to be a pillar of the season. I don't know if they were going to push her to win necessarily, but, she won the first episode. She was definitely a presence in the few episodes that she was there. And then she busts her knee, I think, and has to leave because of an injury. And the season just goes completely off the rails. I think that production had no idea what to do, because when you plan a season around a queen and then she leaves, what do you do then? It was a mad scramble. There were weeks where no one won a challenge. There was a double elimination that was unwarranted. There were double saves. It was just... Queen's like Charity Case, who I think the audience was really ready for. She has probably the most horror drag we have ever seen on Drag Race, and the audience was living for it. But who wasn't living for it? RuPaul and Michelle. And they sent her home as quick as they could, even though the audience, I think, really wanted to see more from her. And, they were pushing Crystal Versace because, they'd had two kind of comedy winners for the first two seasons, and they wanted a more fashion winner. I think they also would have potentially crowned Ella Day, who was more of a theater queen, but she, kind of shit the bed in the finale. So, they're pushing queens that I just don't think the fandom liked as much as others. The fandom was living for, like, Theresa May. They were living for Charity Case. They were living for Katie Scott Claus. And I think they really made the season about who's going to win, Ella or Crystal. And I think people really also loved Ella, but not to the detriment of all these other queens that they also liked as well. UK3 is the perfect example of why you cannot go into a season planning half of it out already, because there are going to be things that are thrown at you. With Drag Duel, we do not plan anything, and we are constantly like, thank God we didn't, because we weren't expecting this to happen, or we weren't expecting this person to go home, or we weren't expecting this person to do as well as they did. You can't prepare for things like that. And I think that this was the perfect example of what happens when they plan out a whole season ahead of time, and then one thing just throws that entire plan out of whack, and they have to scramble, and it just doesn't end up that good. Then we have some more great seasons of UK. I think that 4 is good, 5 is great, and 6 is S tier in all-time Drag Race season. And now we're on UK 7, and I gotta be honest, guys, like, I am having a hard time watching this season. I find myself watching the episodes, and then, like, halfway through I'm not paying attention anymore because I don't care. It feels like everyone that was the most interesting they sent home because they wanted to do... They love this, like... And I think it's because of UK2, Bimini versus Lawrence. You have this high fashion diva versus this, like, comedic campy queen. And those are such two different polar opposites of what drag can be. And I think in the UK they like doing that a lot. They always like to have two people that are really kind of propped up. Kyron and Lavoie, which is more of like an age storyline about new drag versus old drag. Danny versus Cheddar, two kind of like powerhouses of their scenes. They love to do that. And this season, it's like they chose their two before the season started in Bones and Elle Vosk, and then just kind of like planned the season around them when there were so many other characters and queens on the season that people liked so much more. Bonnie and Clyde, Sally Trademark, Page 3. People love Terrace. People love... there's so many great queens on the season, but they were unfortunately all just swept to the side in order to make Bones and Elle Vosk the top two. And I don't know spoilers for the season, but I would bet money, I'd bet big money that they are going to be the top two of the season. And it's just a hard season to watch, because when I am watching a season and I feel like the producers already knew the ending going in, like with Ginger Minj, it doesn't make it exciting for me. Because it wasn't exciting for the producers. The producers weren't like, ooh, what's going to happen next? Like, clearly it wasn't exciting for them. They were just pulling the strings to get what they wanted to happen. And that's exactly what UK7 feels like. And it is, unfortunately, I think, one of the top flop seasons of Drag Race. But there is still one season we've not talked about yet that is the ultimate flop. I think the most hated season, like the most hated season of any Drag Race season, is Global All-Stars. It has to be Global All-Stars, because they literally like played in the face of so many countries around the world. Like, at least in the US, like when an all-star season in the US sucks, it's like, okay, the US people are mad, whatever. They pissed off every country individually. And it was just, again, another season built for someone to win. Alyssa Edwards, we just talked about that in a recent video. And they just played in the face of so many amazing queens from around the world. They fed into stereotypes, RuPaul's favorite pastime, besides dirty charades. Like, it was just really uncomfortable to watch at times, you know, with the margarita pizza, with the you smell like tacos, with like RuPaul pushing stereotypes on all of them from their countries. It was uncomfortable, and it should have been a celebration of queens from all around the world, and really it just became a celebration of the queens who speak English really well. Unfortunately, I just did the riggory videos on this season. I don't want to talk about it anymore, but this is the most hated season, 1000%. And as it should be. It's horrible. It's so bad, and I feel so bad for so many of the queens that are there, because there are so many queens who are like delivering on that season. You know, Pythia was delivering. Vanity had so many incredible moments. Nalenia, and even queens who went home like far too early. Atina Leakes and Miranda Labral, so many of the international queens came with everything. And instead, they propped up Alyssa Edwards and Katie Scott Claus, who were mid basically the whole season. So, Global All-Stars, most hated season by far. Okay, let me know in the comments down below. Did I miss a season that was a total flop? Is there an international season that I have not watched that should be on this list? Was there a season on this list that you love that you don't think should be considered a flop? I truly think that these are the seasons that the fandom at large would consider flops, but let me know what you think. The links to all of my social medias are in the description down below, and next week we're gonna look at the best seasons of Drag Race of all time, the successes of Drag Race, the opposite of the flops. So let me know what seasons you think should be on that list. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you are subscribed if you are not, and I will catch all of you in the next one.